How you doing today, guys? Welcome back to another day of 7th grade math. This is Mr. Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world, and today we're gonna keep talking about the STAAR-like questions. This is just a mix ticks for all 7th grades ticks that we have. And before we do that, I want to remind you that this is the reference chart, reference material that we use for 7th grade. It has all the formulas that we need. Again, as well as conversion factors, and this is always going to be provided to every 7th grade student once you take the test. It's going to be different for 8th grade, 9th grade, so forth, so on. But this is the one that we're going to be using. We use area and volume a lot whenever we take the STAAR test. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see. This is going to be like 13 questions or so. And before we start, I just want to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so, and hit the notification bell on. That way you will not miss any future content. And you can also browse through my channel and look at other content, similar content, or different 7th grade material that you can find. Also, if you haven't seen my other channel, MTV Alex, this is a great time for you to check out the card that is going to appear over here on the top, and click that. Pause, go back, subscribe, and notifications on that one as well, and then come back over here and continue the video. But let's go ahead and get right into it. This is gonna go a little bit fast because we already know how to do this. If you don't know how to do this, I will try to the first question is about inequalities, and there's a whole playlist of equations and inequalities that you can watch on my channel. Just go to my channel and search for equations and inequalities playlist, and you're gonna have different years of instruction for this matter. So number one, it says, what is the solution set for this inequality? And we have the equation, the inequality, negative 8x plus 40 is greater than negative 16. Okay, the first thing that we have to look over here whenever we have questions like this with multiple choice answers, let's look at the signs. In this case, this is the sign given to me. And look at the answer choices, because if the answer choices has something like this, you know that's not going to be your answer. So in this case, we don't have that case. Now, before we start and we actually do any math in this, let's think about inequalities for a second. I know that the solution is going to be pointing the arrow towards the direction that the tip is pointing. So in this case, it's going to go to the right. However, there's a rule for equation inequalities that says every time you multiply or divide by a negative number, your inequality sign will flip. So it will go to the opposite sign. So with that known, I can look at my equation and say, well, the 8 is multiplying with x, so eventually I'm going to have to divide. And if I look at 8, it's actually negative 8. So yes, I'm going to be performing a multiplication or division by a negative. So therefore, my sign has to be flipped. So if I look at my answer choices, I only have two choices that have the sign flipped. So it's either going to be 7 or negative 3. And at this point, you can either take the 7 and the negative 3, put it in place of x, and see if what gives you the solution to negative 16, or you can just work the inequality as normal. So in this case, we have negative 8x plus 40 is greater than negative 16. So I'm just going to go ahead and solve for x. So my first step is going to get rid of the 40 by doing the opposite, and what I do to one side, I got to do to the other side. This will cancel this out. Now, on the other side, you have negative 16 minus 40, and you have to remember the sign rules for adding and subtracting. Let me point those to you real quick. Earlier on the year, we did this right here, and it says for adding and subtracting only, we have two rules. Same signs, we're going to add and keep the sign, or opposite signs, we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. Again, same signs, add and keep, opposite signs, subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. With this known, because we should already know this by the time we're taking a STAAR test, what tests related to this subject. Whenever you're taking a test, it's because you already covered this material. So let's go back. So with that known, I know same signs I'm just gonna add, but I'm gonna keep the sign that it already has. So over here we have two negatives. So the answer is gonna be negative. So basically when you add this, you get 56. So basically if you put this on a number line, 0 is somewhere over here, you're gonna start at negative 16. And then you're gonna go 40 more this way, you're gonna end up at negative 56. That's what's happening, it's just becoming more negative. Okay, you can see it like that too. So now this just comes down, so you have negative 8x, and this is still like that. My next step is gonna be to divide by that negative 8. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. So this will just become 1x, 56 divided by 8, that's just gonna be what? 7. Now we have a different rule for adding for positives and negatives with multiplications and divisions. Same signs is happy, so it's positive. Regardless whether both of the signs are positive or negative, if you have a even number of positives, even number of the same signs is gonna be positive. However, if you have opposite signs, it's gonna be sad. That means it's gonna be negative. So in this case, we have the same signs, looks like this, so it's gonna be positive. So my answer is gonna be positive 7, and I divided by a negative number right there, so this has to flip right there. So my only answer choice is gonna be B. Even if you forget about the sign, by looking at the answer choices, even if you had put in a negative right there, is wrong. But if you look at the answer choices, there's not a negative 7 given to you right there. So as long as you're following directions, you should be good to go. Number 2, the head of a nail is circular, shown as. Number 2, the head of a nail is circular as shown. The head of this nail has a diameter of 6 millimeters. Let's try this again. The head of a nail is, number 2, the head of a nail is circular as shown. The head of this nail has a diameter of 6 millimeters. Which measurement is closer to the area of this nail in square centimeters? So we know we need to find the area. For that, you're going to have to go back to the formula sheet. But just so that you know, area equals pi r squared. But I like my 7th grades to do it like this, because sometimes this throws you off right there. You're going to become experts at this next year. But for now, let's just keep it like this. So pi is always going to be 3.14, and this is also given to you in the formula chart. You don't need to memorize that. It's way more than that. It's 3.14159 blah 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 blah. It just keeps going and going and going. It never stops. So in this case, it's gonna be 3.14 times something. Now we have to find the radius. So we have a circle, and it says that the diameter, remember the diameter is the whole line, equals to 6 millimeters. So if my diameter is 6, remember radius equals diameter divided by 2. This is not a formula given to you. You just have to remember that the radius is from the center to the edge. So if my diameter is 6, my radius is 3. There you go. Now we can substitute the value. R equals 3 millimeters. You just have to remember, if they give you the diameter and you need to find area, you always need the radius for the area. So this is going to be 3 times 3, which is 9 times 3.14. Before we move on, before we actually multiply this, let's go ahead and estimate this, okay? Because we can do that in our head. This is really close to 3, and this is 9. 9 times 3 equals 27. is really close to 27 millimeters squared. Let's look at the answer choices. Which one is the closest to 27? It's not going to be 9. This is way off. 100? No. So the closest one is actually going to be H, so it's not J. And if we go ahead and multiply this, 3.14 times 9, we should get exactly 28.26. So 3.14 times 9 is going to give you 28.26 when you multiply it out. So you don't necessarily, if you have multiple choice answers, you might not need to do that operation right there. If you can estimate two even numbers to multiply by themselves, really easy times tables, 3 times 9, 27, boom, your answer's right there. Any questions so far? If there's any questions, please go ahead and check leave a comment down below and include the question number. Also, there's a whole playlist about area and volume. Check it out. And also, I think there's another playlist for circles. Check that one out because it's going to cover circumference and area. Let's look at number 3. The price of a sweater was reduced from 20 to 12. By what percentage was the price of the sweater reduced? So this is a markup and markdown. You're not going to have formulas given to you for this, but we did talk about that, and there's also a playlist about this, so check that one out. So this is, you can do this on a part over total equals to percent over 100 equals percent over 100. So you can do this on a butterfly method, cross products method, or you can just multiply something and something. So let's see. I like to do this one because it's always going to work. So let's go ahead and know my parts and my totals. So this is going to be the total, and this is going to be the part. Now the total originally is 100%. So this is going to be what I'm looking for. What percentage is that? So let's go ahead and plug the values in. So instead of P, I'm going to put in 12. Instead of the total is 20. Equals, and then this is 100. The total is always going to be 100% on the bottom. So this is X. Now you can do this two ways because this one is actually pretty easy. You can do butterfly cross products, or you can think to yourself, well, what happened from here to here? And whenever we're talking about proportions or fractions like this, we are either going to multiply or divide. Don't think about, well, I just added 80. No, that's not how it works. Because if you think like that, 80 is one of the answer choices. It's not cool. So I can say, well, if I multiply this times 5, it gives me 100. But if you want to keep it proportional, you have to multiply this times 5, and this is going to be 60, right? 20 times 5 is 60. So by what percentage was the sweater reduced? Now look at that. That's one of the answer choices. Before I make you think, let's go ahead and do the other method. If I multiply this, I get 20x, and if I multiply this too, I get 1200. Right? So if I divide by 20, this cancels out, so x equals to 60. Answer is the same. Okay? Now you have to be paying attention to the question. By what percentage was the sweater reduced? Because right now, you have, it's not going to be 8. That's way off. That's a number that is way off. It's not going to be 80. Okay? Now, for your surprise, the answer is not going to be 60 either. But let me help you think. It says, by what percent was the price of the sweater reduced? Well, 12 is, let me see, hold on. 12 is 60% of 20. $12 is 60% of $20. So what percent was it reduced then? You cannot stop right there. You will have to take that away from 100%. 100% is $20. You're going to take away the 60%, and it's going to give you 40%. So the answer is actually D. If they would have asked you what percent of 20 is 12, then yes, the answer is 60. But it's asking you by what percent was the price of the sweater reduced. If they ask you something like that, you will have to subtract at the end. Don't forget about that. It's a really important part on this type of questions that's going to throw you off. And just because you got this right here, you select C, you're going to get it wrong. You did the process right, but you forgot to think the last little bit, okay? So if there's any questions about number 3, please leave them down in the comments below. At this point, please go ahead and pause, subscribe, like, share, and let's go back to number 4. Okay, thank you for subscribing. Now let's look at number 4. It says the table shows the number of bottles of different kinds of juice sold at the cafeteria on Monday. So the common mistake that I see a lot of people making, a lot of students making with this type of questions is that you have statements, and many students are lazy, is really data, backed by data. A lot of students are lazy to not read these things. Okay, so it's actually a really simple question, a really simple problem, but you have to read everything. You have to read it and make sense of it. So let's see. It says we have on one side of the table, remember every time we have a table, this is going to be X and this is going to be Y. I don't know if we're going to use that, but we're going to label it just for the sake of it, because oftentimes we are going to need to know that, okay? So every time you have a table, please go ahead and label it. So it says, if the cafeteria has 80 customers on Tuesday, which prediction of Tuesday is not supported by the data in the table? Not supported. So we're looking for the wrong answer, actually, okay? And it's talking about predictions, so it's going to be probability. So I know probability is going to be part over total. Probability is always going to be part over total. So I need to find the total for something. So if I need to find the total of something, most likely I'm going to have to add all that. So before doing anything, let's go ahead and add that. So I have 18 plus 11, that is going to be, what, 29? Plus 7 is 36. Plus 4 is 40. So the total equals 40. Okay? I just added all this. And it says, F. The number of bottles of cranberry juice sold will be 6 more than the number of bottles of pineapple juice sold. Remember, we're looking for the wrong answer. It says, if the cafeteria has 80 customers on total, so we have total customers equals 80 on Tuesday, total juice equals 40, okay? So they expecting to sell, no, they sold. This was Monday's numbers, okay? Those are Monday's numbers. So we're looking for Tuesday's numbers. The number of bottles of cranberry juice sold will be 6 more than the number of bottles of pineapple juice sold. So 11 is talking about cranberry and apple and pineapple. So we're looking at this for F right now. So I don't know. I don't think so, because they had 7 and 4. They have 7 and 4. There's information over here that is not given to you, because on Monday they don't tell you how many customers went to this. Well, it's gonna be 40, right? On Monday there's 40 customers because that's what they sold. So if you have 80 on Tuesday, that means that you're gonna multiply that times 2, right? To get 40 times 2. So everything times 2. to get 80, right? Because this multiply times 2 to get this. Total customers on Monday, total customers on Tuesday. So this is going to be 22, 14, 36, and 8. Says the number of bottles of cranberry juice sold will be 6 more than the bottles of pineapple. Yes, 14 minus 8 gives you 6. So this is a true statement. I don't want the true statement. So you can just say this true. So you're looking for the false one. Now let's look at the number of bottles of apple sold will be 6 times the number of cranberries sold. So now we're looking at apple. Apple and cranberry, right? For G. 6 times as much. So if you multiply 14 times 6, what do you get? You get 84. Is this 84? No. So that seems like it might be my answer because the keyword is right there, 6 times. Maybe. We're looking for the other two have to be a true statements. Let's see. There will be a total of 50 bottles of orange and cranberry juice sold for H. So, what is it? Orange and cranberry. Orange and cranberry. 36 plus 14, is that 50? Yes. So this is also a true statement. And the last one, the difference between the number of apple and pineapple will be 14. So 22 minus 8 is 14. So this is also a true statement. So my answer was, in fact, B. Now, what was it? G. Right there. Because I'm looking for the wrong answer. Again, you have to read this and do whatever it's telling you on each one of the statements, but it is not hard. You just have to think about it a little bit. Let's look at the next one. Number 5. Which equation best represents the relationship between x and y in the graph? Okay. So we have this formula on the formula chart, y equals mx plus b. This is the slope-intersect form, or the equation of a linear equation. It's actually called, slope-intersect form. M is the slope, which is the rise over run. And B is the y-intercept. So, if I look at my line right here, I'm not looking at the equations right now. I'm going to look for this right there. That's where the line crosses the y-axis. So I know that the y-intercept is going to be -3. So y equals mx plus, not plus, -3. Let's look at the answer choices. We're looking for something that has -3. So we can go ahead and eliminate C and D. Okay? Now the M is going to be the rise over run. So what you have to do is go up until the next point that you can find that is at the very corner of the square. So in this case, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. So my rise equals 3. My run is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. But it went to the left, so it has to be negative. So y equals -3/4 x minus 3, which is A. Again, if you go to the left, if you go up and then to the left, is negative. So basically, if the line looks like this, it's going to be negative. But if the line looks like that, it's going to be positive. Just remember, positive, negative. Just remember that. This equation is given to you, but you just have to remember these key things right there. what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. See, I was able to eliminate 2 of the answers right away. If you have a question about this, I think I have a playlist about this. Can be on proportionality maybe, but I have videos about this as well. Just go ahead and check them out. Number 6, it says a model of a rectangular stove with 4 circular burners is shown. The side lengths of the stove and the diameters of the burners are labeled. So we have a rectangle and 4 circles. Does everybody agree? Can anybody agree with that? Or would you agree with that? Leave it down in the comments on the bottom. Say number 6, yes, I agree with you. It says, which measurement is the best estimate of the area in square inches of the stovetop that does not include the area of the burners? So basically, we need to find the area of the grayed out section. We need to find the area of the grayed out section. The good thing is that all the burners are the same size, right? All the burners have what is that? The diameter or radius? Let's see what they say. They gave us the diameter, but for area of a circle, we need the radius. Pi times radius times radius. Remember, this is the actual formula. So we need the radius, okay? But it's very simple. Because what we need to do over here is find the area of a rectangle, which is base times height, which in this case is 24 by 22, which is 24 times 22 gives you area of the rectangle is 528. And these are inches squared. Now, I bet that if I scroll down, because I don't remember the answer choices, I'm going to see that as one of my answers. Yep, it's there. J, right? However, remember, I have to take away the burners, so my number has to get smaller. At this point, what will you do? What you will do is look for bigger numbers than 528. In this case, we don't have anything bigger than 528. If you did, you will eliminate those as well. So now, let's focus on the circles. So this is my diameter. So my radius is going to be half of that. Right? And if I remember correctly, the circle that I did earlier today in the same test had the same radius, didn't it? It was millimeters, but I don't care about the units right now. I care about the numbers. So let's go back to that one, because I don't need to do it again if I already did it, right? If I look at the nail that we did earlier, look, we found the area for that, which was actually right there. So why would I work double if I already have the answer, right? So let's go ahead and use 28.26, because I already know that. So I had already found that. So area equals 3.14 times 9, which is 28.26 inches squared. However, look, if I take that away from 528, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get one of the answer choices to give me that. 499, which is close to 492. The thing is, I don't have one circle, so this is 28.26. This is also 28.26. This is also 28.26. And this is also 28.26. So instead of adding them all, what can I do? Can I just multiply this times 4? So 28.26 times 4 gives me 103.04. That's the total area that the circles are taking, right? So now my rectangles are here. My rectangle is that. I gotta take away this. So now I'm gonna do 528 minus 103.04. So just fill this with zeros. So 528 minus 103.04 gives you 424. That's the total area of the stove without the burners. Now let's look at none of my answers give me that. It's not gonna be F, right? Because that's way too small. But look at this right here, best estimate of the area. That means that my answer is going to be H. Any questions about this one? The hard part is to remember that you have to take something away and that for area you use radius and not diameter. Moving on, number 7. We have budgets question. I can see that because we have a list of things and money. All right, number 7. Philip created the net worth statement shown. He has assets and liabilities. Based on the information in the statement, what is Philip's net worth? Remember, we did talk about this. There's no formulas. You just have to remember that an asset is something that you own, that you don't, is yours. You're not paying for it, it's already yours. And a liability is something that is you're paying for. You don't owe it. You don't own it. You're making payments on. Okay, you have an outstanding balance for that item. For example, if you pay in a card, that's going to be a liability. The good thing about this table is that they're giving us what is an asset and what is a liability. And to find the net worth, all you have to do, net worth, is going to be assets minus liabilities. That's simple. Assets minus liabilities. So that means, and they couldn't make this any easier anyway because they're telling us the total for the assets and the totals for the liabilities, so we don't have to add them. So the thing is, they already gave us the total for the assets and they already gave us the total for the liabilities. If they don't give you that, you will have to add them first. In this case, it's already given to you. But if they don't give you that, you will have to add this, and it's gonna give you that number right there. But in this case, the hard work is done for us. All we gotta do is subtract. Now, yes, you can have a negative net worth. How will you get a negative net worth? If this number right there is less than this number, then the net worth is still gonna be negative. So basically, if you have more liabilities than assets, your net worth is going to be negative. So, assets minus liabilities, 113,000 minus 71,500. In this case, my assets are more than my liabilities, so these two answer choices, they're gone. Now, before I even subtract, my net worth has to be less than 113,000. So this is also gone. My only answer is going to be B. So I didn't even have to do any work. If I know my basics, I don't have to do any work. Just look at the table. And if you subtract, you will get the 41,500. If you have any questions about net worth, please leave them down in the comments below. Other than that, let's move on. If you haven't right now, please stop. Like, subscribe, and thank you. Let's move on. Number 8. Leon created a scale drawing of the school library in his art class. Scale drawings, so scale factors. Before we move on, I gotta remember, okay, we're talking about scale factors, so I either gonna multiply if it gets bigger or divide if it gets smaller. Okay, so that's either multiply or divide. In the scale drawing, the length of the library is 13 inches. The length of the actual library is 78 feet. Which scales did Leon use to create the scale drawing of the school library? So it got bigger, right? So let's see. What I would like to do, since it's getting bigger, I want to know if I divide 78 by 13, this gives me 6. So I have it doesn't even tell me. Let's pretend it's a rectangle. Okay? And the length is 13 inches. This is 78 inches. That's all I know. So since I don't know these numbers right here, all I can do now is divide to see what happened. Or 13 times what gives me 78, right? Just like we did before. If we multiply this by 6, I get 78. So that means that each inch, because we're going from inches to feet, right? Each inch represents 6 feet, which is F. Because if you have 1 inch, 6 feet, 2 inches equals 12 feet, 3 inches equals 18, 4 inches equals 24, 5 inches equals 30, 6 inches equals 36, so forth, so on, right? Until you get to 13 inches equals 78. You can also do that on the side if you like. It'll take you a little bit longer, but it works, right? All right. So again, scale factors. Again, if it gets bigger, you multiply. If it gets smaller, you divide. So if we go from big to small, I have to divide. In this case, that's what I did. 78 divided by 13. I guess that's the easiest approach for this one. Let's see. Number 9. This week, Andres will practice with his band for 1.5 hours on Monday, 1 3/4 on Tuesdays, and 2 hours on Wednesdays. Next week, he will practice with his band for the same number of hours Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What is the total number of hours that Andres will practice with his band over these 6 days? So I know Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for 1 week, week 1, right? So week 2, you also have this, this, and this, right? So if I need to know the total, that means that I'm gonna have to add, right? The thing is over here is that I have mixed numbers and whole numbers. I have 1 1/2 plus 1 3/4 plus 2. Correct? And in order to add fractions, you have to have the least common denominator. Or you can approach this by converting them into decimals. This is 1.5, $1.50, $1.75, and 2. So if we add all this, I get 2 plus 150 is 350 plus 175 is 5 what? 525? $5.25, right? And I know that 25 cents equals 1/4. So this will be 5 1/4. So my answer should be not A. Wait, I almost picked the wrong answer. Because what this is for week 1. Week 1. Right? So for week 2, you have the same thing. So you have a total of 2 $5 bills and 2 quarters. That's $10.50, right? Or 10.5. You can do it like that. Or you can just go ahead and convert all the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we multiply, then add. So this will give me 2 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, halves, minus, times. Add 4 times 1, 4, plus 1 is 7, plus 3 is 7, fourths, plus 2. Now the thing is that now I need to find the least common denominator, so I can multiply this by 4. No, I can just multiply this by 2, and it'll give me 4, because 4 is going to be my least common denominator. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus, that one is already on fourths. Plus, now I have to convert the $2 into quarters. How many quarters will you get in $2? 8, right? 8 quarters. Wait, something's not right. This is not 4, this is 3. So this is 6. Now you can add everything on the top. 6 plus 7 plus 8. Which is going to give you what? That's 14, and 7 is 21 fourths. Now I have to change back into a mixed number by doing TIVO. Top in, bottom out. So this is going to be 5. 20, subtract, you get 1. So the answer is going to be 5 1/4. Now you have to do double this times 2, and it'll also give you the same answer. Longer process, it works. If you get easy fractions like this that you can convert into money easy, like in quarters, go ahead and convert to decimal and then just play it backwards. Otherwise, you're going to have to do these long steps. All right, see, everybody makes mistakes. So I'm not going to edit this. You'll see that mistake and the way I fix it as well. So, because something wasn't clicking. And the way I noticed is that I was going to get 8 right here, and it would have been the same as that. But these two numbers are not the same. So I realized that I had done something wrong. Easy little things can make big trouble. And if you don't pay attention on those little details, it'll give you the wrong answer. So again, if something is not making sense, so if you're not thinking through every time you have to do a new step, it might give you the wrong answer. It will give you the wrong answer if you're not doing it properly. So again, double check yourself. I do it all the time. Something's not making. That's the beauty about math, that everything has to go certain way. If it doesn't go the way it's supposed to, it's not gonna check. All right, let's move on. Number 10. A farmer plants crops on 48 acres of land. The circle graph shows the percentages of land used for some of the different types of crops. Based on the circle graph, how many acres of lands are used for corn? So again, we have a circle graph, and every time we're talking about percentages, the circle represents 100%. The circle always represents 100%. And in this case, we are focusing on what they want us to find? Corn. They want us to find corn. So this is right here, all this area right here. Now we also know that 100% equals 48 acres. So this can easily be a part over total equals percent over 100. The thing is that I don't know what percent that is, but I can easily find what percent that is. So if I do 100 minus 40 minus 20 minus 10, what percent is that corn gonna be left with? So 100 minus 40 is 60, minus 20 is 40, minus 10 is 30. So that's going to be 30%. Again, you do it like 100 minus 40 minus 20 minus 10, which gives you 30 for corn. Now you have 3 items that you can use to find how many acres that is. So we're going to use that information. We're going to do part over total equals percent over 100. I don't know my part. I know the total. This is the total. 48 acres equals, I know the percent of corn, which is 30%. And I know the total percent is 100. Now this one is not as easy as the one we did before, because I can't multiply 48 by an even number and get 100, so this will need to be a cross products. Multiply those two, multiply those two. So 100 times p, that's just gonna be 100p equals 48 times 30 is gonna give you 1,440. My last step is to divide by 100, or you can easily just cross out 2 zeros and move the decimal 2 places to the left. So my answer is going to be 14.4. You will have a gradable so you will select the plus. You can put in 0, 0, 1, 4, 4, 0. And that will be your answer. And it makes sense, because if you were to put in 144, it doesn't match up with, you don't have more than 48 acres. You do not have more than 48 acres, so it kind of makes sense that it's 14.4 acres. 14.4 acres for corn. Again, part over total equals percent over 100. Fill in the 3 that you know, cross products, and solve for the equation. Next one, number 11. Which answer choice represents a person burning 90 calories by climbing 18 flights of stairs? So this is like a unit rate thing that we have to do. Or y over x. K equals y over x. Something like that. We have to find a unit rate, something like that. So we got to find something that is equivalent for 90 and over 18. Let's go ahead and do something real quick. If I divide 90 by 18, I get 5. 90 divided by 18 gives me 5. This is going to be my unit rate. My unit rate, 5. So every flight of stairs, one flight of stairs, I'm going to burn 5 calories. Or you can just simplify 90 and simplify 90, you get 90 over 18. If you simplify that, divide by 9, you get 10, and you get 9 right here. Wait, 2. You get 2. And you can simplify that, then you get 5 over 1, which is the same as right there. Now, we got to find one that matches 5. 1 over 5 or 1 to 5. So let's see. If I climb one flight of stairs, I burn 5 calories, yes. If I climb 3, do I burn 15? Well, 3 times 5 is 15, yes. 5 times 5 is 25, yes. 7 times 5 is 35, yes. So it seems like this might be my answer, right? Now let's look at the other one. If I climb one flight of stairs, I burn 18 calories. Is that true? Is that what we're doing? No. We said that for every flight of stairs is 5 calories. We found that. Now if you climb 5 flights of stairs, will you burn 1 calorie? No, this is backwards. Right? And C and B says C equals calories equals flights plus 5. Are we adding anything? No, we're not adding anything. So it indeed has to be A. You just have to think about it. You can use this equation and find the unit rate. Or just find the unit rate. All you have to do was divide. Let's see if we have any more. Number 12. What is the value of the expression 6 3/4 times? How I know it's times, mister? Every time you have a number with a parenthesis, that means that you are multiplying. Negative 11.5. Okay, before we do anything, let's think about the signs. I have a positive and a negative. Positive and negative is sad, so my answer is negative. Correct? Let's look at the answer choices. It's not F, it's not G. Right? Now let's estimate. Let's bring this up to 7, and let's bring this up to bring this down to 11. That's gonna be 77, right? So it might be H, but I guess we do have to actually multiply this thing. But I have a mixed number and a decimal, integer. So I will have to convert that mixed number into a decimal first. So this is the same thing as 6.75 times 11.5. This is negative, so my answer is going to be negative. When I multiply 6.75 times 11.5, I get 77.625. Well, mister, that's not any of the answers. No, but the whole number is going to be 77. This is not 77. And when you convert this into a fraction, it simplifies down to 5/8. So the answer is H. And I found that at the beginning by simplifying, by rounding, kinda. I did not round, because if I would have rounded 11.5, that would have gone to 12, but I was just estimating with common sense. I don't know. Okay, number 13. Justin has 50 pictures in his album. 50 pictures in his album. On these pictures, 30 show his friends, 12 show his family, and only 8 show Justin by himself. Justin is also on half of the pictures that show his friends, and also in half of the pictures that show his family. Based on this information, which statement is true? So we're talking about probability and percentages. Now, this one is going to make you think a lot. So basically, again, when you're looking at this type of problems, you have to look at the statements and do the operations and match them back to the data that is already given to you. So if I look at the data, this is what I have. I have a total of pictures. I have 50. 30 that shows his friends only. Pictures with friends, that's 30. And then I have pictures with family, and that is 12. And I have pictures with Justin only, pictures of Justin, that is 8. But I also know that Justin is in half of the pictures with his friends. So in here, I have pictures of Justin and friends. It's going to be on half of them. So that's going to be how many? 15, correct? And he's also on half of the pictures that show his family. So he's on pictures with Justin and family. If the total is 12, well, he's only on how many? 6, right? So let's see what we can come up with. This says, based on this information, which statement is true? A, the probability of randomly selecting a picture that shows Justin with his friends is greater than the probability of randomly selecting a picture that shows Justin with his family. So Justin and friends is 15. Justin and family is 6. So is the probability of picking a picture of Justin with his friends greater than the probability of picking a Justin and his family? There's 15 with his friends, 6 with his family. Is that a true statement? Yes, right? So 15 is actually greater than 6. So this might be our answer. Let's look at the other answer choices that we have. B. The probability of randomly selecting a picture that shows Justin is only 8%. Justin only. Let's see. How many pictures we have with Justin only? 8. 8 out of how many though? Because that's not the percent. It's actually 8 out of 50. And if I convert that to a percent, well, I can multiply this by 2. This is 100. This is 16, right? So this is actually 16%. So is that 8%? No, it is not 8%. Let's see. C. The probability of randomly selecting a picture that shows Justin with his family is 5 times the probability of randomly selecting a picture that shows only his friends. Only his friends. Well, let's look at that. So for that one, let's do pink color. Let's look at this one with pink. Okay. So family only. Family is how many? Justin with his family. That is going to be right here. So that is Justin with family equals 6. And the other thing is his friends only. So for his friends, and has a total of 30, but he's in 15 of them. So the ones that show his friends only is going to be friends is going to be only 15, right? And he's saying that if I multiply this times 5, I should get 15. When I multiply 6 times 5, I get 30, not 15, so it's not going to be C. So D, the probability of randomly selecting a picture that does not show Justin is 21%. Well, I have 15 that shows his friends only. And how many that shows his family only? Well, he has 12 that show his family. He's in half of them. So 6 family only. So we're going to have to do a part over total. So this is a total of 21 pictures, not 21%. Because remember, my part over total, this is 21 over 50, 100 right there, right? So if I multiply this times 2, I get 100. So if I multiply this times 2, I get 42%. This is not 42%. So no, my answer has to be A. A lot of thinking, guys. A lot of thinking and going back and forth. So this is why I know, and backed by data, that a lot of students just guessed on these questions. And if I make a poll, how many of you guessed on this question? How many are you going to raise your hand? How many of you guessed on this question? Yeah, whatever. Okay. Number 14. The circumference of a circle in C centimeters. The diameter of the circle is 13 centimeters. Which expression best represents the value of pi? Whoa. Wow. Okay, so now we know that circumference equals pi times diameter, right? In this case, we know the diameter is 13, and we know that circumference is just C, right? We're looking for how to get that. So basically, we gotta solve for for pi. or just leave pi by itself. So I know that circumference, I don't care about that. I know that pi is 3.14, but there's going to be a relationship between the circumference and pi. And we need to find that in format like this, like on a fraction. So this is going to be, instead of d, I'm going to use 13 pi right there. So this goes right there. Right? So how do I leave pi by itself? What is 13 and pi doing? What are they doing right now? Leave it down in the comments below before I move on the say number 14. Pi is, and you tell me what it is doing. Okay, let's come back to the video. Now, pi is multiplying with 13, so the opposite of multiply is divide by 13, correct? If I divide by 13, this cancels out, so I'm left with pi equals c over 13, which is h. That's how you find pi as a relationship of circumference and diameter. All you gotta do is work the formula back and forth, so for pi, and that's it. So if you knew the circumference and then you divide it by the diameter, that number should give you 3.14. Whatever that is. We don't need to find the circumference. Again, if you needed to find the circumference, all you have to do is multiply pi times the diameter, 3.14 times 13, and that will give you the circumference, but we're not looking for that. Alright guys, that is it for this one. I hope that you learned something today. If you haven't, please smash the notification bell on and subscribe button, as well as sharing this video. If you want to see my other videos, please go ahead and check the playlist, or check the cards that came across the video while I was playing it. While you were playing it. Other than that, that is it for today. Stay tuned for the blooper. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. You're writing this down. What do you mean, where are you supposed to go?
Well, I thought it was like a looper.
No.
Well, how was I supposed to know?
Because I told you and you were not paying attention, right?
Well, if you know that I wasn't paying attention, then how was I supposed to know?
How's that my problem? You still talking? God. Should I include this in the video like a bloopers at the end or what?
Gotta be fun, yeah.
I guess I will.
Everyone, I will actually watch the video.
That's good. So what you can say, oh, you can say in the comments, oh, he was talking to me while we were discussing.